that time the Oilers drafted me, I'm sure they said, "Oh, this is a horrible draft pick."
Oh, man, they could have had you in the
No,
fifth round. They called you.
That's absolutely what the fan base. Obviously, the coaches thought something. So you just never know. I think it's some solid picks, as I said before. So hopefully it all works out. But I think what I think people are missing is they're in that middle road of purgatory where you're trying to transition away from your star players and still trying to get your franchise team and still build the team and still be competitive and try to win games. They're right in that middle of that. And without admitting that they are, and I'm a little perplexed now because that's why I kept on saying you got to go one way or the other. It's hard to stay in that middle like that. You either got to be reloading or you're rebuilding. It's one or two. There, we always make fun here on the radio, and it's all cool and dandy, and we come up with these names, what's in between. But at the end of the day, I think they're really navigating really well, which tells me, Byard and Henry, and if they don't get traded, there's still a possibility that could happen. Or Tannehill, you always try to be one step ahead of the last year that you want them on the team based off of their contracts or for whatever reason, even if they're producing. So that's where we're at right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Levis starts. I mean, that was kind of what made me say that. When I say that, I'm talking about maybe if someone has an injury, on a team, another team at quarterback, and then they say, okay, who's available? Depending on where Levis is at that point in time. And I know I'm jumping over Malik Willis, and I think he has a little further to go, but I know what Coach Vrabel said, and he has to say that because you don't want something given to somebody. You want him to earn it. But as soon as he gets on the field, I would think just some of his talents are just going to showcase. So he's going to get to that number 2, hopefully, sooner than later. And then maybe 3 or 4 games in or even earlier, they may be confident that, Tannehill can be, maybe out on the market. Just don't know because that is the direction. When you draft a guy second round, even though it's not first round, it's still second round. I think the expectations are you, the GM, Vrabel, are attached to Levis. They are. This is their franchise quarterback. So I think we must not overlook that. And we could talk about the pressure and he's not a first rounder and all those things. But guess what? The pressure's still there because he will become your franchise and face of your organization at some point in time, and the GM and the head coach going to be tied to him.
So have you just taken the clock and
Yep.
as soon as they hit draft?
And I say this as much, I've always been fair to Tannehill, so I think he's a really good quarterback. But as I said before, I think you need to just move on and let's start over. And and that could be the whole crew of the 3 guys because you got to start that clock. And to me, I just think quarterbacks are much more prepared. Now, sometimes you have luxury because you have a veteran quarterback who's still capable of doing really well, which is Tannehill. So do you wait? And then if your season isn't going where it should go, you got to get him some experience because going into that next season, he's the guy. So why not start that clock now if you don't become a playoff contending team? Vrabel's a competitor just like everybody else in the organization. They believe they can win. They're going to, get a couple pieces here or there. Just imagine if they pull off a blockbuster trade and then pick another veteran guy for a receiver and then get another veteran guy off the waiver wire that's solid. And then next then they got that with Burks and then everybody else will fall in line where they're supposed to be. Then all of a sudden the team looks really, really good. And by the way, I'm assuming that the offensive line comes together. Whoever starts where. There is better talent there already, right off the cuff. So the only thing to me at this point in time, I want a little more depth at cornerback, and I want some proven. And I'm not even 4 or 5 year guys. It may not be superstars or anything like that because I'm cool with that. But productive wide receivers in this league, you got to have somebody line up there. And I'm being a former defensive back. If I see what I see right now, nothing's scaring me. I'd be like, I dare you. I dare you. And I ain't even talking about coming across no middle because that was my deal. I'm talking about going deep, somebody run by. There's nothing out there that's going to make me, shake my boots. And Burks is going to have to be, A.J. Brown now in year 2. Immediately, if they stick with this group, just like this, there's just no way. I've been saying it for a long time, and I love NWI. But he is a borderline 3. Now, yeah, can he go get 100 yards in a game? Yeah, any receiver can do that, the way that people throw the ball, but he's not that. So I think they're figuring that out. I think they believed that he was. I think they believed that he was a 2.
Well, their actions said they did for sure. And like you always say, words don't matter. Yeah. Your actions. And their actions were.
Actions. I think he's more a solid 3, and no one can game plan for him. Once you see him in film, and these guys who study the game, who have the skill set. So that's the only thing to me that's left. Do I still question some of the draft picks? I mean, only one I could really question, and I still like the player. Mm-hmm. Tajay Spears, I want to say always sharp or whatever. Because great player. I don't know if I would have went wide receiver there. And I don't even know who's available to be. They might have missed out on some guys that they really liked when they made the trade for Levis, and then they moved their 3rd pick back. Right?
They missed
Tillman,
Hyatt, Tillman, and Josh Downs. They went in the time in between time.
So and it may have not been anybody on the board that they really liked or scouted to the depth that they wanted. When I say that, it could be also personal interviews or visits or sit-downs where they had thorough conversation with them instead of drive by and scouted them and, just had general conversation with them. So that might have been what they're talking about the board. Or nobody was rated high enough, and they just said, we're going with the next highest-rated player we got. And that's how they got to there. He's a solid player, and, a lot of people talking about all the, ACLs and everything else. But, when you're there around pick and all they're trying to get out of you is 3 or 4 years anyway. And he's going to get right on in there and be Hilliard's replacement and do well. I believe he's going to play and contribute. And I'm up here talking about I want a receiver, which would be maybe a little bit harder at 3rd round to develop into the lineup. But you're still looking at the long term too as well.
David Chow, the pro football doc, who I think you know him. We've had him on.
I've sat down with him for dinner and everything. I met him through Lorenzo Neal. I mean, many, many years ago when Lorenzo was a Charger. That was still San Diego at that time.
Wow. Okay, that has been.
We sat down for dinner at some big time steak place, and he was big time.
This is what he said. He quote tweeted Ian Rappaport, the Titans pick at number 81, Tulane running back Tajay Spears, very talented player, but knee concerns dropped him to the 3rd. This is what David Chow said. I'll retweet this. I'll retweet it from Blaine and Mickey too. He said, now reports of full thickness cartilage loss,
what is that?
end-stage arthritis, which would explain why his knee is not unstable with its ACL tear. Arthritic knees with bone spurs are rarely unstable. He can play in the NFL, but he will have a very short career.
Right.
It's David Chow.
So he could be really good for the 3 years they have him and keep it moving.
It's like Todd Gurley. I'm going to ask Coach Mack about this today.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a good because he
played 5 years for the Rams and gained 5,000 yards. Then he had one more year with the Falcons, 600 yards. That was his whole career.
Yeah, his knee kept messing up. I didn't know what was wrong with his knee. I'd love to hear that story because oh, man. When they played them here, he hurdled somebody. I mean, the dude didn't even bend down hardly on a screenplay. Oh, my God. He might have took it to the house. I was like, oh, man. And he was just as good as I thought he was from the days when he was at Georgia. And then some surgery or something, maybe he had something and they knew about it. But if they knew about it, why did they give him that long-term deal?
Don't know.
Even though he was producing.
He was producing.
That's when you let him walk. You say, yeah, well, we got to go to the next guy.